Hey, so this is a quick post-production intro. So I originally was going to do this video myself where I was basically going to go on a rant about how games are kind of boring nowadays and like not really a lot of them really appeal anymore. And in talking about it with a friend of mine, I offered to do a sort of podcast thing with them and they were game to do it. We had intended to go for about 15-20 minutes. We ended up going for over an hour. And looking at it in post here, there's really not a whole lot of point in me cutting it up too much because we end up circling back a lot. And if you're missing context or it's split up a bit, it can be kind of hard to follow along a little bit, in my opinion. So, yeah, go sub to my friend. They're cool. And enjoy the rest of the video, I guess. Alright, and recording started. Alright. So, as you said in our Discord, you're also bored with a lot of games right now.
Yeah, I tend to have up to 10 mobile games on my phone at any point in time, and I just like cycle through them, new one every month because I just can't find anything to stick with.
See,
So,
you have a lot more than I do. I have one mobile game on my phone.
my problem is I only I'll play one, I'll download a heap and I'll play a bunch of them for 5 minutes and then uninstall them because I can already tell they're just, cash grabs, that kind of thing.
You
And then
can
I'll
see
find when I
right through
feel
the
like,
facade right off of the
oh
bat.
yeah. Yeah, you get past like the fifth level, and suddenly they start playing an ad every like 10 seconds. And you're like, okay, now, done. I'm done with that. But I find one that's actually pretty good, and I like sort of the idle games, a lot of the min-maxing a bunch of numbers kind of things.
Okay.
I'll find a good one, I'll play it for usually up to a month, and then basically I'll see an ad for a new one and I'll download it and it's actually good. And I just kind of immediately forget entirely about the old game and start playing the new game instead. Um,
See, for me,
feel,
the one mobile game I have is 100. To be 100% honest, it's the Senran Kagura mobile game.
of course, yes.
Which one I've been playing that since the year it came out back in 2017.
mm,
But even then, like at this point, it's really just go in, do my daily stuff, get out. Which is honestly
yeah.
to kind of segue away from mobile games as well a little bit. I feel like
Mm.
Genshin's kind of turned into that for me as well. Just log in, do the dailies, bail.
Yeah, I stopped playing Genshin as soon as it turned into that. Honestly, I can't do grinding. That's even with my little mobile games. I'll only stick with them if it keeps changing, if they keep adding something. As soon as I have to do the same thing more than like 3 days in a row, I'm out. I'm done. I can't do that.
See, for me with Genshin, the events kind of help break that up a little bit, especially some of the more story
Yeah.
focused ones. But
Mm.
I am at the point where basically, aside from Spiral Abyss every 2 weeks, pretty much all I actually have to do is just grind shit for characters I haven't leveled yet.
Yep.
Which there are still a couple that I have that I actually do want to like work on and get them good to go. But
Mm.
after I get those, like I have like three more that basically once I'm done with them, it's like, all right, now what?
I think because I when I played Genshin, I think I leveled maybe a dozen characters max, and I fell in love with Razor.
Oh, I forgot you
The
were a
Lucio.
Razor main.
I fell in love with Razor. I leveled him as much as I could for whatever version we were at. I made a half decent team around him with the characters I had, and that was it. Like that was me done.
Didn't you?
So
I think you, if I remember right, you stopped playing before Inazuma came out.
yeah, I did play a little bit when Inazuma came out. Like you were saying, the big event and all the hype kind of got me back into it for a little bit.
But then as soon as you
Um,
got back into the routine, it was like, no, I'm out.
yeah, exactly. It was the same thing again. Like I lasted a few days doing some of the story, and it was quite fun. But then as soon as I started hitting, I think I hit points where I was dying too much, and so I needed to
Uh,
go grind to be able to get through the next stage of the story, and that just lost me. That immediately lost me.
See,
So.
I'll admit for me, I was stupid over leveled for a lot of that. But I have probably like 6 or 7 different team combos I can run at any time.
Yeah. See, I had one, which makes it really hard to deal with all the different challenges that kind of want you to have a bunch of different teams to pick from.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that didn't work out too well for me, unfortunately.
Well, I guess we, since that seems to have reached a natural end, I guess we can segue more into multiplayer shit.
Yes,
Because
there's a few ones there.
because I actually was about to make a huge Twitter rant about it, and then that's when I was like, you know what, maybe I could just do this as a video instead.
Fair
So,
enough.
like,
Yep.
my issue with it right now, honestly, is like I'll either try to get into or get back into any given multiplayer game, typically a shooter,
Yeah.
and I'll have fun with it for at max like a day, and then
Mhm.
it goes back to the same thing that made me like quit in the first place, which for me is the one, honestly, with a lot of it, it's just the lack of stuff to do other than the shooter. Like, I like having little side
Yeah.
stuff to do.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
then the other thing for me, the matchmaking is usually kind of annoying because
Yeah.
it's always either I'm on a team where I'm the only one that feels like I know what the hell I'm doing, like I'm the only one that like actually seems to like try to ping an enemy like, hey, there's a guy here, and nobody pays attention.
Yeah.
And then the other team always has that one guy that's taking it way too seriously.
Yeah. I think because I used to was trying to play Splatoon competitively a few years back, and I
Yes,
was doing the
so
whole thing of
for context for anybody watching, my friend Kat here actually used to be a moderator. I don't know if you still are a moderator or not. You haven't said anything.
I am actually, yes.
Oh,
I'm
you are
still.
still a moderator. Okay, so is a current moderator, I just remembered incorrectly, for the Australian competitive Splatoon grassroots scene, whatever you want
Yeah.
to call it.
Yeah. Oceanic, Australian, New Zealand, Splatoon, casual, competitive. I started out running LAN tournaments and then went to online tournaments, all the things. These days, I just play IT. Like, I'm the one that the other admins send a support ticket to whenever one of the Discord server's broken or something. Um, but yeah, I used to try and play Splatoon competitively, and I did the whole like getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning so I could play for an hour before I had to go to university or work. And I think because I had that competitive drive, and I really wanted to keep improving, and I had sort of ideas for the things that I wanted to improve on and what I wanted to achieve and all this other stuff. That kept me playing Splatoon for years, like 4 years, and also playing, with my friends, with my team, etc., and sort of, feeding off each other's energy. Um, but these days, one, I'm older and tired and have a stressful job,
And
so I just
and
don't
you got
quite
a
have
doggo
the
to take care of.
and I have a dog to take care of and, apartment to clean and all that stuff. So I just don't have the same time or energy. And I guess sometimes I feel like if I go in and play, sometimes I know I can play better because I used to. But I'm now so rusty and so tired and I don't have the muscle memory anymore that I'm not playing as well as I feel like I should be, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking though, would you say that that kind of bugs you, that like because you
Oh yeah.
used to do it more competitively, you see yourself doing like not as good? Does that like bug the crap out of you?
Yeah, like even when I'm trying to play really chill, I still like I've got that bit of competitiveness
See,
and
because
it
like
just
for me, I've never played any game competitively like at all.
mm,
I'm pretty much the type of person where I'll load in and I'll pretty much only touch the casual modes because I'm just there to like de-stress for like an hour or two. Like
yeah. See,
I'm not there to train for the fucking World Cup. I'm just trying to kill a little bit of time and take some of the stress off my brain.
yeah. See, is where whereas I've before Splatoon, I didn't really play video games much actually. Like Splatoon was what got me into playing a heap. I played MMOs a bit, some of the free Asian ones. But I
Oh,
never
like some of the
played.
Korean ones.
Yeah, pretty much. But I never played the MMO for the fact it was an MMO. Like, I never joined a guild. I never did any of the rig raids where you had to play with someone else. I didn't even pay attention to the story half the time. I just kind of liked exploring the world and messing around with stuff and discovering things, and then also um, messing around with, like, the marketplace.
Fair.
That was all I did. So I feel like because
Didn't you
Splatoon,
play Final Fantasy 14? Was
I
14
have
was
more
14 was
recently.
14 the online one? I forget.
Yeah, that was more recently, actually.
All I know about the online one is that it's actually pretty expensive.
Yeah, it's a monthly subscription and all that. So I only like pay for it when I'm actually going to play it. But
I definitely understand the getting into the MMO to just kind of explore the world and like fuck around because I played World of Warcraft years ago. Like this was
oh,
like 2014, 2015 when I actually played it.
yeah, I tried so hard to get into Warcraft way back when, and I just could never. Like, full context, all the MMOs I played were all the like cutesy ones. And then I go to Warcraft and I look at
Yeah, that's
just
definitely a bit of
the
a
design. Yeah, no,
See, for
I
my
couldn't do it.
first one was WoW.
Yep.
Like, and it was I probably played that for probably about a good year, where I literally and I did the same thing. Like, I didn't join any guilds or anything. I never did any raids or anything. I basically just loaded in and fucked around. But
Yeah.
I also was on PvP disabled servers,
Yeah,
which I know there's
that's right.
some people who be like, oh, you were missing on some of the experience. It's like, I'm not here for that. I literally just want to mess around for like the 2 hours that I have.
Yeah.
Especially back then, I was still Navy back then. I had like jack shit for free time.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been wanting anything to take too much time. And
No.
I had a I spent 4 to 6 hours a day on commuting back then,
Oof.
on top of uni and work, because I lived
Oof.
way out of the middle of nowhere. So yeah, I was like, get home at 10 p.m., play for like maybe an hour or two after dinner, and then
Play to
crash
burn
into
what
bed.
little energy you got left and then
Yeah,
crash.
pretty much. Pretty much. And so it was like, yeah, so I went from that to super competitive Splatoon. And I think, like you mentioned, Final Fantasy 14. I only got into that in the last couple of years, and it's been interesting because I don't have the same interest in it as I used to have in those other MMOs way back when. Like, I'm not able to just log in, once a day, spend an hour, chill, and then log out again. I think I still have a bit of that drive from having played Splatoon so competitively for so long.
You
But
think
there's not
maybe
really
that's kind of
anything to
killed it a
be
little bit
competitive.
for you in general?
Yeah, I do wonder sometimes.
It is possible.
Yeah, but I have no interest in going back to competitive, whether for Splatoon or anything else. So
See,
end
for
up
me,
in a bit of a limbo.
I just never got into competitive, and I'm honestly kind of glad I didn't. Because for me,
Mm,
because the other thing that I see a lot, especially with like Overwatch and Valorant, because I used to be pretty heavy into Overwatch. I sank over 1,000 hours into that fucking game,
yep, yep.
and then I've tried Valorant on a few different occasions. The longest I played it, like in one streak, was like about a month, and then I'd
Yeah.
go off for like a month or two, come back on for a couple weeks.
Hmm.
The thing for me, honestly, because I see it a lot too, is like, oh, once you get good, it'll start to be fun. Skill should not be a requirement for fun.
No, I
Like,
agree. I agree completely.
and I get like I've every time I say something like that on like Twitter or whatever, I get so much fucking hate for it. It's like, I'm sorry that I'm a casual and I'm trying to just have fun, de-stress after a long day,
Mm,
especially now, because, and I'll provide context for anybody who doesn't really know. Um, I currently work as an English teacher in Japanese public school. The previous 2 years, I was in a little farm town. Now I'm in Tokyo. And when I was in the little farm town, it wasn't quite so bad. There was, like, you figure my one school had 250 kids, the other school had 75 kids. So it was pretty
hmm.
manageable. Whereas now, one school has 500 kids, the other has 1,000.
Oh, jeez.
I am so burned out by the time I get home. Like you figure, I get home at like 4 o'clock, and I'm just
Yeah.
and like, don't get me wrong, I still love my job, but at the end of the day, it's
Mm.
my job. I'm gonna prioritize that.
Yeah. And I think it's the same for me. Like, I'm a manager at a tech company, and I am constantly, I'm basically playing messenger between different people within my company, other people outside the company. Everyone has different like goals and wants and things, and I'm constantly just talking to people and managing everything and tracking
You're the middleman.
everything. I am. I literally am. And I have so many spreadsheets just to try and track everything. And I finish work and I have used up like 99% of my brain power for the day. It's gone.
Yeah, I definitely understand that one, especially for me on certain days. For me, it's usually Mondays and then Thursdays. And
Yeah.
it's not anybody's fault, but the reason why I think I'm more tired on those days is because on those days I tend to have more, I'll call it special needs students.
Yeah.
And I understand that like they can't necessarily help it, like not everything is, completely under their control, but holy crap is that stressful. Because there's a lot of it where I do not have the training on how to handle it, so I just kind of stand there and hope that the regular teacher notices. Because sometimes
Yeah.
they don't, and it goes on for like 5-10 minutes. I'm just kind of awkwardly standing there trying to continue as normal. It's just like, can we,
Yeah.
can we get him under control before he tries to jump out the third story window again?
Oh dear.
Like, I'm being a bit hyperbolic there, but you get my point.
Yeah. And I think it's even harder sometimes when, like you said, you don't have the training for it. You can't, like, the best thing you can do is not try and do anything.
Wait for the person with the training to
Yeah,
take care of it.
exactly. But sometimes that just, a lot of times with my work as well, I'm like, I'm just waiting. I've sent an email and I'm waiting for a response.
Oh,
And I just have to sit, like, find something else to do to use up my time without getting so into something else that I'll miss the response.
yep.
And so it's this annoying, like, hurry up and wait thing.
Oh, I
And I
hate
feel
that.
like, yeah, there's like a bit of tension to it. And I feel like that's probably the same with what you're talking about, where that can be really tiring.
Yep.
Like, it's surprising how tiring it is to not do anything.
Yeah, you would think it would be
Uh,
easy, but no.
yeah. And so it's
Then
just,
the other thing that I've got is I call it my second job.
yep.
That would be and I've told you about this before, but I'm working on like job certs for other job stuff as well. I'm also trying to study to be able to do JLPT.
Yep.
Then that eats up like, because technically when I get home at like 4 o'clock, I could game for a couple hours, stop and eat dinner, and then keep going. No, I don't do that. I basically like I'll get home and basically I'll do my Genshin dailies. By the time I'm done with that, I'm hungry for dinner. I'll eat and then I'll start working on that stuff. And then
Yeah.
I do that for what, like 4 hours, and then I'll pass out and go to bed.
Yeah, that
So
sounds about right.
but long story longer, it's because of that kind of stuff that I just don't have the time to get good. So,
Yeah.
but
Like, you just
it's
want to
because of that,
relax.
and it's because of that you know skill should not be a factor in how much I have fun. I should be able to just have fun.
Yeah. I actually, when you mentioned it earlier, I thought of something. So with my writing that I do as my hobby slash occasional second job,
Yes.
um, I hear a lot of times about books and, fiction and having a hook at the beginning and having the story be interesting all the way through and all this other stuff. And also you hear about those books where the interesting things start happening after the halfway point.
Oh,
And
that's.
people will go, "Oh, this book's great, you should read it, it's so good, it's all these things."
But
And
then
then you
you look
start
at the
reading it and you're
caveat, and
like,
you're like, oh, but I got to get halfway through the
yeah,
bloody thing before I'm gonna actually be interested.
exactly. And I, like, similar to games, I don't have the interest or time or energy to get through, like, to slog through that much of a book anymore to
Yeah.
get to the interesting parts. I used to, I don't anymore. So I'm actually finding myself reading a lot more novellas just because by nature they cram a lot more into a lot less words and they're a lot faster paced.
See, I've been tending to do a lot more nonfiction myself. But I also, I kind of do that with the mentality of it, learning something new never killed anybody.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the other thing, like if you're reading nonfiction and you're going into it for learning, I at least find learning itself interesting.
Exactly.
Whereas
I'm the same exact way.
Yeah, whereas, a fiction story or even a game, some of them are educational, but most of them are not. You're there to chill and to have fun. And yeah, if it takes you, however many hours of a book or however many hours of a game to get to that point, so many people are just going to stop.
I think that's worse for games when it's a free-to-play game and you're bored right off of the bat.
Yeah. Yeah,
because then at that point, like, I mean, I guess, it's not as bad because at least you're not out, like, any money. But then, and I'm going to use Overwatch 2 as an example because, like I said, I sank 1,000 bloody hours into that game. And I was, even when it first came out, like the whole Overwatch 2, first came out, quote unquote, even I was saying it was basically just a version 2.0 update. Because compared to the first one, it was literally a couple new characters, a couple new maps, and then a shit ton of stuff got gutted.
Yeah.
And then now, like, they're slowly going to start reintroducing that stuff that got gutted, and then the one part of the game that anybody gave a shit about, the PvE, the one reason anybody was willing to actually call it a sequel, that fucking got axed. So now it's just like, what the fuck is the point?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting thing with also, I guess, the way games are being delivered these days, which is a whole nother topic, but the real quick version is the idea of releasing something that's incomplete and updating later.
I hate that so much, where it's just, here's like a third of the game now, and we'll sell the rest of it to you as DLC later down the line. And hope that you still give enough of a shit later.
Like even if it's free, like I work in software, I understand all the reasoning behind releasing something small and then updating it. That's what we do with software.
Right.
But we do it with software because we're trying to get something useful out to customers. Whereas I think when something's meant to be entertaining and you deliver something that isn't entertaining, what's the point? Like, what was I think, to come back around to the overall topic a little bit.
Right.
I think what makes me really play a game quite a bit is when I can see from the very first minute that there is a vision and that vision has been realized.
I can definitely understand that.
Yeah, and I get hooked in. Like, I'm just thinking of a game I played a couple years back, Gris. It's on the Switch. It has...
Oh, I think Gris, I think it was... It was like a French one.
GRIS, probably.
Yeah.
There's no
I remember
dialogue.
you streaming
There's
that.
no lines of text. Yeah, but it was beautiful. Like,
it was.
The fact that they were tell so much story.
Even backseating, to your stream, I was enjoying it.
Exactly. Like, that was an experience. And
the other two actually that you played that I remember the most from the streams was Spiritfarer.
Yeah.
And Indivisible.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, I think those and Unpacking are the four that immediately jumped to my mind.
I didn't get to see most of your streams of that when I was stuck working.
Yeah, so Unpacking is a similar thing where there's no dialogue. It's just a beautiful puzzle game. It's a story disguised as a puzzle game. And
That's right. I like the kind of games where it can just right out the gate say, here's the kind of game that I am. If you're interested and you want to play, let's have some fun. If not, feel free to mosey on to the next thing.
Exactly. And
instead of here's what I am now, here's what I might be in a couple years when I finally get updated.
Yeah. Like, do you get the game with the hope that, in 2 years, like you said, you'll still be playing, you'll still be interested? Do you get the game, not play it for 2 years, and then hope that the thing appears when it's meant to, which it probably won't? Or do you wait and then, well, it probably will never happen, so you've saved some money?
I will say, though, that it's not as bad if it's something like, I'm going to use it as an example, Witcher 3, where it's
Okay.
here's the complete game and then here's some extra stuff that we added later that's completely optional that you can, buy as DLC if you want. But it's by no
Yeah.
means mandatory to get the full experience out of the game.
Yeah, I think that comes back to that like vision, for lack of a better word idea. Like
Right.
the game was released with a full vision and a full story to tell. And then the extra bits are, just some extra little chapters and stuff.
I mean, hell, even Cult of the Lamb,
Yeah.
because that got
No,
a pretty
yeah,
that got a
was
pretty
one.
big update recently. Because even when that first came out, I was playing that like crazy. I was having
Yeah.
so much fun with that. And then, admittedly, I did kind of stop once I 100% of the achievements. But of course, then I find out that there's a big update coming with a bunch of new stuff, and I was like, oh, hey, an excuse to go back to that.
Yeah, and even Hades.
Ah, yes.
I haven't played it, but I was actually watching a friend play it on stream
It does look pretty
yesterday.
fun.
Yeah, I could tell just from the stream that the combat would drive me absolutely crazy, so I'm not even gonna try. But just from the visuals and the voices and everything in it, it again has such a clear, like you could see a screenshot of Hades and you immediately know what it is.
Yeah.
And
I think for me, it's one of those games where if I see it in a Steam sale for a decent price, I'll maybe go for
Yeah.
it. But
same.
because I have a couple games on my Steam wish list where it's like those kind of games where it's basically just here's what I am, let's have some fun. But I'm admittedly waiting for a Steam sale because I'm a cheap piece of shit. Like actually, I guess I can pull it up real quick for like a couple examples. Let's see. Persona 5 Royal. Admittedly, that one's mostly just because I'm a Persona fan. Let's see. Ghostwire Tokyo.
Oh yeah.
Because I was a little unsure about it at first, but then I ended up watching a couple streams and was like, oh, that actually seems like it'd be kind of fun. So maybe if it goes on Steam sale.
Okay. Yep.
Another one, Doom Eternal.
Of course. Yep.
And then I have two more on here that fit that category. Those being Sakuna of Rice and Ruin,
Yes.
and then Yakuza Like a Dragon. Because I was actually hyped for
Yeah.
that one when it was getting ready to come out, but I was broke.
See, I find it interesting that so I haven't played that many games. I don't tend to know games outside of those ones that my friends have recommended to me.
Right.
And yet I think I know of all those games, not just from like you or one of my other friends talking about it. Those are all games that I've heard people raving about. Just
I mean,
on
like,
the
I get
internet.
part of the other thing I guess too is like everyone has different tastes in games, so maybe it's just you and I have similar tastes, and that's why we both heard of the ones that each other's like played and want to play. But
Although I
at
wouldn't
the end
play
of
any
the
of
at the end of the day, though, if I feel like if enough people are like getting bored with something, maybe it's time developers start looking into why more and more of us are getting bored with it, and maybe try to actually make it fun to make us want to play. Especially if it's a lot of these AAA devs that seem to be focused more on how much money can this game make me instead of how great of an experience can we make for our fans.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that things like Unpacking was just a small team of devs that just really cared about what they were creating. And there's so much heart and soul in that game.
Another
and even-
example of a similar vein, I would say, is Stardew Valley. That was one dude.
Yeah. And
Look at how amazing that game is.
if I can quickly shill a Friends game.
Go for it.
Oh, I've linked it too far back. We talk too much.
Oh.
A friend of mine is a friend of mine is releasing soon a game called Fishbowl,
Fishbowl.
which is a beautiful. Yeah, I've been following them on Twitter for ages, and it's on Steam, and it's just a beautiful little. Like it reminds me of Stardew a lot,
Okay.
but you're just sort of going through the daily life of this character for a month following her grandma's death.
Okay.
And sort of walking with her through grieving and dealing with everything and blah blah blah.
A quick Google search gives me a bunch of weird web browser games, so allow me to actually look on Steam because you said it's on Steam.
Yes. But it's beautiful. Like ever since I saw the first post on Twitter 3 years ago, I think, from these just two devs working on this idea through the pandemic, I've been absolutely in love with it.
I think I'm going to assume it's the one that is marked as "One Friend Wants This Game."
Yeah, that would be it.
Oh, you did actually add me on Steam.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and it's just beautiful. Like you look at the art, you look at any of the clips of it, and it has just a feeling to it that, oh, I'm like, I can't even find the right words. I'm just so keen for it.
Well, here, allow me to read the description. Fishbowl is a slice-of-life coming-of-age story told over a month. Video call loved ones, work from home, sort through puzzles, and rediscover childhood memories. Do care tasks to get to know yourself better one day at a time. Okay. That actually could be kind of... That sounds chill as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. But it also sounds like it has so much depth to it at the same time. And I'm just so keen. I just want to play it already.
You know what? I'm going to add it to my wish list.
Yay! Yeah, that's
and here, you know what? Because we talked about it, I'm just nice like that. Allow me to link the Twitter to that's the studio in the description. Because it's actually right here on their Steam page.
And they actually sort of crowdsourced some of the decisions as they were developing. Like, this is how I got involved with it. They were posting, here's 2 screenshots of this room. Which design do you guys like better? Why do you like it better? And so I've actually ended up chatting with one of the devs quite a bit on Twitter because of that. And yeah, I believe it's just 2 people working on the whole thing together for 3 years or whatever. But yeah, there's so much love in it. I'm rambling a heap because I'm so keen for it.
Oh, no.
Fine.
It's good that there's at least something we can be hype about.
Yes. I guess, well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because, yeah, like, all these big games that I keep seeing announced, everyone's raving on about all the big announcements and blah, blah, blah. I don't
And then here we are looking at, like the single-player games and, like, the indie games, and we're just like, give me more of that.
Yeah. And, I mean, I guess that's part of the... it's part of why indie games have taken off as a category a bit, because you do tend to find a lot more heart and soul in these games that often the developers have sort of not been paid for a couple of years because they haven't had time to work because
to put it bluntly, indie developers by comparison actually give a shit.
Yes Whereas I think
for the most part there are some of them that are a little questionable.
Yeah. And I think
like the Yandere Simulator guy.
Yeah. I think, the big AAA games and stuff, there's definitely going to be people in those companies who do care.
They're just going to get drowned out by the men in suits.
Exactly. Yeah. You're a big company. You're basically designing a game by committee. And I think unless there's, a couple of people with a strong vision and a loud voice.
Yeah.
It is just going to get drowned out. Which is
really unfortunate.
Yeah. I feel like some of these games could be... Like, they're AAA. They're really good in several aspects.
They've got the money. So.
Yeah, and they've got the people. Like, they'd have amazing devs, amazing designers, amazing writers in the company.
And then the best part is like an indie game will come out, make it huge, and then AAA will try to copy it.
Yeah,
it's like maybe if you would have let your creative guy actually do something like that in the first place, you wouldn't be trying to have to copy an indie studio.
Yeah. I mean, what do they say? Copying is the highest form of flattery or something?
Something like that. I think it's imitation is the highest form of flattery. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. But it's still just...
And it sucks.
It also reminds me... I won't go too far down this tangent, but it reminds me of some stuff I've seen about TV shows and movies as well, where, you think of like Marvel movies and everything's become very formulaic. If anyone ever wants to know why, look up a thing called Save the Cat. There's articles about why that is
I've heard of that as well.
Yeah, I think I've ranted at you about this one before.
I would believe you
Um,
have.
quick context for everyone else: it's basically a formula for a movie, and way too many movies these days seem to follow it because it's the easy way for a big corporation to go, "Oh, we have an idea. Let's plan a plot according to this formula, shoot it, done."
I mean,
And it
then
just removes a lot of thinking.
you could go the Disney route and just take some of your old like classic movies and just
Yeah.
redo them again,
And
even though
again. And
nobody
again.
asked for it. And I'm not
Yeah.
going to go too much into that one because, of course, there's a whole like politicized debate about certain actors being cast in certain roles, and I really don't want to go
Yeah.
into that because that part doesn't necessarily bother me. I don't really care. What bothers me is
Mm.
just they couldn't leave well enough alone. They're so out of original ideas. They just have to rehash their old shit and hope nobody cares,
Yeah.
and
And
then turn
actually
around
on
and wonder why everybody mocks them for it.
yeah, and on like the indie games versus AAA comparisons, if you look at Marvel or Disney or any of those and then compare them to say Everything Everywhere All at Once, which won so many awards and was just, a small team working away at this movie for several years, I think.
I think it was a few years, yeah.
Yeah. And it's the exact same thing. Like they had so much heart and soul that they poured into that movie that it's absolutely beautiful. And yet, I haven't watched a Marvel movie in a few years.
I think the last Marvel movie I actually watched was Endgame.
Yeah,
And
that
even then, like
I saw.
that one was just I was so into the hype at that point.
Yeah, I think that's the
That and I
thing.
scored opening weekend tickets.
Okay, fair. Yes. Yeah, I feel like the big arc kind of wrapped up. I think the
Yes,
only one I've really seen since was Spider-Man. Just
I
because I really like
apparently
Spider-Man.
there was a new Spider-Man multiverse one.
Mm. Across the multiverse,
No,
I
no, no.
think.
It was oh
I
yeah,
keep getting the
across
two
the
titles
Spider
mixed
Verse,
up.
something like that.
That's right, Across the Spider. I keep getting the titles mixed up. Yeah,
The
I'm
animated
feeling.
one,
Yes, I'm hearing good things. I do
as am
actually want
I.
to see that one. But again, it's something different. Like
Right.
as soon as you said it's the animated one, it immediately has something that differentiates it from everything else that we're currently getting about
Yep.
superheroes. And even like the Batman movie last year with Pattinson as Bruce Wayne. The
Oh,
corners of the internet I'm in went absolutely ballistic over that movie. And it's because it's a different kind of Batman movie. Um, and also it helped that Wayne Family Adventures comic was released at the same time. But anyway,
yeah, that'll help.
um, yeah. But yeah, it's you see those things occasionally which are just different and interesting. And I know that with the sheer volume of media that's being produced these days, not everything can be unique.
Be it games,
But
movies, or even music, everything, some stuff
yeah,
will inevitably get buried at the bottom, and a lot of that stuff that gets buried at the bottom is actually really good. But because it's not the
yeah,
money making stuff, the corporations don't give a shit, and because the smaller studios and stuff straight up don't have the money for advertising or anything, a lot of people aren't going to hear about it, and
exactly.
it sucks.
Like the big studios can just drown out smaller studios because they have a bigger marketing budget. That's a,
Exactly.
like there can be so many great little, movies, games, everything, and potentially nobody will ever hear of it because the authors just couldn't manage to get their couldn't get an ad for it in the right place in the right time to get it in front of the right people so that it would take off. And I actually find that really sad. Like I wish there was better ways for people to advertise things that
To be a
fix that.
little honest, I think you and I can actually sort of relate to that in a YouTube sense.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, now, granted, you have about double my subs at the moment.
Most of that was off one video though.
That's where
So
most of mine came from. You
yeah.
gotta for that one of mine that broke. I think it's like 210K views now. I was at
Oh
about
my.
100 subs before that. I'm at just over
Hmm.
400 now.
Yeah, I had
But the
that
other
one
thing
video
that,
that
but
was
at the
at
same time, for that
100,000.
one, what also kind of sucks about that is like the videos that I actually like put like decent effort into sit at the bottom,
Mm.
and then the shit posts like that fucking Emperor Zurg one for one reason or another get picked up by the algorithm or whatever, and it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, that's the same with mine because the one that took off for mine was just a recording of a Splatoon 1 game where we ran into a bunch of hackers. And we don't even have the
Oh,
VC. Like,
that's
I
what
wish I
that one
had their
was.
VC recording because we were losing it in that game. Like, we were all just laughing. We were absolutely killing ourselves. But I wasn't recording VC that time. And so it's just this stupid video and it's had 400,000 views or something last I checked. But it was never what I wanted to put up. And so yeah, the views didn't translate to my other videos very well.
I think
Um,
the only other ones that I've had some consistency to is the Senran Kagura stuff. But even that one I think is partially because it's like, as much as I hate to admit it, Senran Kagura is kind of a niche community nowadays. So I think what
yeah,
that one was just because it's the newest thing for, a smaller community. The algorithm pushed that to everybody that actually seems to give a shit about it, or at least that it assumes would give a shit about it.
yeah. I guess that's one thing with a smaller community is you don't have as much competition usually, and you also have a higher percent of the community tend to be very like interested.
Yes.
Like a high percent of the community will actually go watch, every video that comes out, every article, blah blah blah.
See, but then
Um,
on a similar vein, and this will kind of tie back into the original topic of being bored with games.
mm,
For a little bit of context, I've been going to the arcade more and more frequently because, of course, arcade games here
yeah,
in Japan are fucking nuts. That and arcades are
I'm
actually,
jealous.
I say arcades are actually still like a thing here.
Yeah.
But some of the games they have here are just ridiculous, and I've actually been having fun with those. Now, part of that might be I only get to do it like once every other weekend or so, maybe. So
Mm,
I think part of it might just be it's more infrequent, therefore it's more special. But at the same time,
yeah.
because I was having so much fun with it, that's where I came up with the idea where it was like, okay, how about I make videos on some of these arcade games that like don't go overseas much or anything, and like show it
Mm.
off because fuck it, why not? I'm having fun with it, and I want to actually translate that fun for other people.
Yeah, which I mean is why I stopped making videos because I wasn't having fun with it anymore.
I mean,
Whereas,
even streaming, you basically stopped, right?
yeah, because I
Because
ended
that
up
was the thing. Because that
deciding,
was the thing you were doing for a while. Was you were doing more stream stuff, and then occasionally putting out like a stream highlights video.
yeah, but then
That
Splatoon 3
and
came out.
shorts of Toby.
Yes.
Because let's face it,
Um,
he's cute.
oh yeah, no, he's the main star of the channel. We all knew that.
even
Yeah,
even the streams, whenever he came on screen, everybody was like, "Oh my
yeah,
god!"
yeah. Then it was just Toby stream.
Yep, and
But yeah,
he
then
loved the attention.
oh my goodness, yes. He's also sitting at my feet right now because I'm sitting at my desk as if I'm streaming, and he's like, "Oh, stream time." Um,
Do I get to be on camera now?
mm, no, I think because yeah, then Splatoon 3 came out, and I was sort of tired of streaming by that point. Not, I liked the social part, but I was tired of games. Like I just didn't,
Yeah,
I didn't like streaming video games anymore, but I couldn't think of anything else to stream. So I tried the video thing, and then I had fun with it while I was learning how to make the videos. And then it's sort of as soon as I achieved what I was intending to create, I got bored. Um,
I was even helping you with some of the editing stuff for that,
yeah, you were
and that
thumbnails and everything as
and
well.
that was actually kind of fun though to get to do that
Mm,
for someone other than
it was.
myself.
Yeah, and it was really good to like bounce ideas back and forth and see how
Exactly.
you would have done things compared to how I did things, and
Oh,
that
because
was
then like
good.
because there were even some like thumbnails or even some edits that I did where I was like, here's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
and then you'd bounce back, be like, maybe something a little more like this, and then I tweak it and be like, oh wow, that actually does work a lot better.
Yeah, and I think I learned a lot from that in particular, and a lot of the things I do, I'm just trying to learn. I like learning.
As do I.
Um, yeah, but yeah, I've stopped doing a lot of that, and I've doubled down on my writing, which I have always done, but nowhere near as much. I haven't dedicated as much time in it. uh, Haven't dedicated as much time to it in the week as I am now. And one of the reasons I really enjoy that is because I have a bunch of writing friends and I send them snippets and things, and there's so much excitement and feedback about it all. And like, I'll send something, and then I wrote something a little while back that was just a short story, but the main character in it is an idiot. Like, he makes every wrong choice he possibly can and almost harms several people, and then
Oh, jeez.
almost starts an intergalactic war. And
So,
about
just to make a bad joke, if the Rent-A-Girlfriend protagonist was in Star Wars.
yes, exactly. And I remember posting that because I usually post late at night and then go to sleep because otherwise I'm going to be checking my emails every 5 minutes trying to see if anyone's responded. And I woke up the next morning and I had a whole bunch of responses from people, and a bunch of them were people screaming in all caps at the main character. They were just so mad at this guy, and they're like, "Why did you do that? What were you thinking?" And I was just sitting there like, "Good, mission accomplished."
As you're just sitting there like, because reasons, bitch.
Yeah, and it was just so much fun. Like, I get so much excitement so much fun and excitement out of that. Whereas I don't with video games or streaming or anything anymore. Like, yeah, it just doesn't have the same feedback.
The same pizzazz, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. So
I feel like the other problem I kind of have as well is that if I try to be too vocal about some of my opinions on a lot of these kind of games, I just get immediately thrown into the fucking minefield.
yeah.
Now, part of that's honestly probably because I'm a fucking nobody on the internet. So I'm disposable in
Yeah.
that sense. But at the
You don't
same
have
time,
an army of
if
fans.
enough of us are all preaching a similar message, even if we are all nobodies, if enough of us are all having the same problem, maybe it's time to actually look into it as a problem.
Yeah. No, agreed. I think that's yeah, I never bothered to have strong opinions about like Splatoon or anything really.
My
Um,
opinions were mostly just memey bullshit.
I just like chickens. That was my main thing.
I was the king of the yeet bomb.
Oh dear. But I do find in writing circles, I guess because we're writers, opinions generally tend to be met with more reasonable discussion
Yeah, I can
than I've
definitely see
seen in
that,
maybe
especially
communities.
compared to a lot of game communities where it's just, this thing is annoying, and then you'll immediately get met with, "Oh, you're good, scrub. Just deal with it. It's a feature. Blah blah blah." The
Yeah.
thing that kind of pisses me off about that one though, and this happened with Overwatch years ago. This was even before Overwatch 2 was a thing. There was a shit ton of us all saying, the game is either really really fun or you absolutely hate your life by the time you're done with one session. Bunch of us had been saying that for years and years and years, but all the content creators and the pros were all like, "Oh no, it's not that big a deal." Then one of them comes out and
Yeah.
says something, of a similar vein. Then suddenly it's a big enough problem. The devs got to do something about it.
Yeah, it's the loud minorities versus the, crowd opinion.
Like, I
It's
understand that, like, someone like a content creator or like a pro player in a game is probably going to have a little more sway in that regard.
yeah.
Especially for a game like Overwatch, where it's kind of meant to be more competitive for the most part. But at the same
Mm,
time, if you've got a lot of people all saying the same thing, X is a problem, we need to do something about it. Like,
yeah.
they don't get to turn around and wonder why we're upset when it's only being fixed after someone else finally says it.
Yeah. It's like a statistic I heard ages back. I don't know how true this is, but it's
So
something
take it with a
about
grain of salt.
yes. It's something like if you go complain to a company because something was wrong at this shop, or you bought something and it was broken, or service was bad. The general rule is that if one person actually bothers to speak up about it, there is on average 200 other people who are also bothered by it but just didn't speak up for whatever reason. And so it's something that I guess I was taught in my career of, if someone actually complains about something, unless it's a really weird, niggly edge case, you don't treat it as one person complaining. You treat it as
Oh shit, we have a
200.
problem.
Yeah. Then if you have, 10 people complain about something all at once, you're like, oh, that's like 2,000 people.
You're just like, oh,
Oh,
I'm fucked.
yeah. So it is interesting to me that, I mean, I guess that's partly where the whole, if an influencer complains about something publicly and they have however many thousands of followers, then that sort of feeds into the same idea. But at the same time, yeah, if your random players are speaking up about something, it's probably not just bothering them. You're probably like losing players and therefore losing revenue because of it.
Yep.
So
I think,
yeah.
honestly, I think in that same vein, a lot of devs just seem to be out of touch with their communities in general. Like, they don't seem to give a shit until suddenly like the whole community is up in arms over something. Then they'll finally maybe think about doing something about it.
Yeah.
Some of them are definitely better than others about it, though.
Yeah. I would just clarify on what you're saying. Because I work in tech and I know a bunch of devs.
Right.
My guess is a lot of the devs care.
It's the suits.
Yes.
It's the suits that are being stingy pricks.
Yes. Because, like,
I'm not trying to blame, like, anybody in specific. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I know that some people, when you say dev, when anyone says devs, some people take that as specifically the programmers. And
No.
I was a programmer.
I was like, see, for me, when I say dev when it comes to a game, I'm referring to the studio as a whole.
Yeah. So just clarifying that for anyone else who might be confused.
Right. Which is fair, especially since again, you work a tech job. Yeah. I might be working one soon enough if the job certification stuff goes well.
Yeah, but it's also like, I don't know if you've heard about hopefully, but maybe not, heard about the Writers Guild of America strike that's on at the moment?
Yes, all the Hollywood writers are all out on strike, and then you can definitely tell some of the better, like, I don't want to say studios than others, because like some of the like higher ups in some of the studios, like I think it was, oh god, I think it was Seth MacFarlane even that walked out with him. It was like, yo, what the fuck?
Yeah, because when you actually start reading through the demands, like,
they're actually pretty reasonable.
Yeah, and it makes sense now, I guess, why, we look at terrible movies that come out and sometimes they're like, oh, it was, the writer's fault. They wrote an awful plot, all that stuff. But when you actually look into how the movie writing industry has been changing over the decades, and things like a TV series, right?
Right.
Used to have a writer's room for the entire season. So, like, 4 to 6 writers who would sit there and could bounce ideas off each other, and like one of them would write one episode while the other one's writing the next episode. So they're not all cramming to write the entire season just by themselves.
Yep.
That's now shifted in a lot of cases to a few writers being given a couple of weeks when the series is first being talked about to basically just brainstorm as many ideas as they can.
And then the suits will throw darts at a dartboard and pick it that way.
Pretty much. Yeah. And they pick one writer to act as the
one that goes in the credits.
Yeah, pretty much. And everyone else is fired. So we've gone from, 4 to 6 writers for months coming up with these stories and making sure they're airtight and making sure they have depth and character and feeling and all this stuff, to one poor guy who has to, stand around and write all the scripts for every single episode for the entire series, has to do all the arguing with all the producers and everyone else who's trying to change stuff, has to keep track of, all the plot threads and think up all the ideas themselves based off this little, brainstorming workshop that happened potentially 2 years ago. And so it's no wonder that quality of stories has been dropping, because unless you're the greatest scriptwriter ever, good luck.
Well, there's
And it's just
actually
because
kind of a similar thing over here. I mean, there's not like a big strike or anything about it over here in Japan, but a lot more people are starting to call out a lot of anime studios for overworking the crap out of their staff.
yeah, I've been seeing that.
A
And also the
notable example, especially, is like the one I keep seeing a lot is Studio Mappa, the guys behind the current seasons of Attack on Titan, among other things.
right. Yep. That explains a few things.
Which, on the one hand, it's like I'm of the mindset of, be it game, TV, movie, whatever. I would much rather wait longer for whatever it is than work these people half to fucking death.
Yeah, agreed. And like with the Writers Guild strike,
Like,
I keep
I'll
seeing,
wait.
yeah, people keep saying like, industry people and people trying to sell movies and stuff, but like, oh, but you won't get your new season of this or your new movie from this, blah blah
And
blah.
everybody's just like, we'll wait.
We have how many decades of backlog to get through? Like,
Yeah,
I
Jesus.
have so many things that I could do instead. I am fine. If
That's
it
the, I
means
mean,
that
that's the
people
thing for
pay
me. For
properly,
me,
I'll
is like,
strike.
okay, I'll gotta wait longer for this. Well, I'll go catch up on this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, we are inundated with media these days. There's so much. And it is hard to weed through and find the things that are actually good. But also, there's just so many things to try.
Oh yeah, and then the other thing too is that even with like the same series, like overarching series, even in those now, there's a shit ton of like spin-offs and stuff now.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
the perfect example is, and you'll definitely have heard of this, Fate.
Oh, yes.
It's at the point with
Yep.
that one where basically it's just look at the plot synopsis. If it sounds interesting, give it a shot. Don't give a shit about overall like overarching timeline, because even that doesn't make any fucking sense. Just
Yeah.
pick one that sounds good and go for it.
I think I stopped trying to keep up with Fate about 10 years ago. So I don't want to know how much of backlog I have at this point.
The only Fate stuff that I honestly can say I give a shit about is the original like Stay Night and that like line, because of course that was the first one I was on. Then the Fate Extella games, because those are fun
Yes.
as fuck. And then I also got into. It's a bit of a mouthful, the title, and bear in mind this is the Japanese title too. Fate Extra CCC Foxtail, which is a manga.
Why? Okay, yep.
And I understand why the name is long, because it's basically like a spin-off manga of the Fate Extra CCC game.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they just keep adding stuff.
Well, basically the only difference with that one is the protag has one character companion instead of a different one.
Okay.
And then the other Fate thing, I just recently started playing Fate Grand Order Arcade, but only the arcade
yes.
one. So that's like every 2 weeks. Like I don't do that very often.
Yeah.
But
Like,
even that one, there's
I-
just so fucking much with Fate. Like, I feel like it would be worse if a lot of games were like that. Because you just wouldn't be able to fucking pick one, and then you finally find one. Then like you finally find one that's good, and it turns out that's the one that's not being supported anymore, and you're just like, well, fuck.
So you know that I play Kingdom Hearts,
Oh,
which has exactly this problem.
I forgot you played Kingdom Hearts.
There was a mobile game that was only available in Japan that
Because
had
of
key
course.
pieces of lore in it.
Oh, for
And it
fuck's
still
sake!
drives me
Oh,
crazy.
for fuck's sake!
And also they're across all different consoles, and I don't have a great many consoles.
You'd think
So
they
I
would.
actually-
You'd think, especially for something like that, where they don't really seem like they're going to be releasing any new shit anytime soon. They would just start doing like the collection bundles on like Steam or whatever.
They did most of them when the most recent big game came out, and so I do have a bunch. But some of them they also just like cut the cutscenes into a big movie, so you could watch that.
Okay.
And there's a couple like I still have a first generation DS, which I lost every other game, but I still have my 2 Kingdom Hearts games because they were in it when I lost the rest of the games, or rather, I think someone stole them. But anyway, so I have Kingdom Hearts Com and Kingdom Hearts 358/2.
I have
And
no idea where those fit in the timeline. I know very little about Kingdom Hearts.
um,
What
I'm
little
not
I
gonna start.
what little I know is that the plot is about as easy to understand as a neutron star.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much.
Kind of like Fate in that respect, actually.
Yes, that's what made me think of it. Because Com is, let's call it a dream sequence,
Oh, for fuck's
and
sake!
358 is it's a period of time from the perspective of someone else as a
Oh
diary.
Jesus!
Um, I love both of them, but
But at the
Com
same
got
time, oh my god!
Com's also a card game context. Um, yeah, they just randomly decided, yeah, this one's gonna be a card game. That's fine.
Because fuck it, why not? I guess.
Yeah, but they did re-release Com later, and the re-release is in the big package that they did a while back. But I don't think they ever redid 358. So I think you can only play it on DS if you have the original cartridge, which is why I'm so protective of mine.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair.
but yeah, it's there's so much. And I actually haven't finished 3. I really got to sit down and do that. But
To kind of
yeah,
to
if I ever get
oh sorry
bored,
no sorry
if I,
I'm sorry.
if I ever get bored, I could literally just start replaying Kingdom Hearts from the beginning, and it would take me years, and I'd just be fine.
It's like One
So
Piece. It's like One Piece. It'll take you so fucking long to
really,
catch up.
I'm so glad I've kept up to One Piece like regularly
I
because
think at
catching
this
up.
point for me with One Piece, I'd catch up with the story quicker if I just read the manga and didn't bother with the anime.
That's Yeah, that's what I do. I don't even try to watch it anymore because then I also have to figure out what episode I was up to. Whereas with the manga, I find it easier just to go to the wiki and find the arcs and be like, let's just start from about there.
Yep.
But yeah, yeah, One Piece. There's so many. I started reading a new light novel series the other week, and I didn't actually check how many volumes it has, but I'm up to 12, and I don't seem to be anywhere near the end. So I think I'm good for another couple of weeks on that one.
Oh yeah, that'll hold you off.
So yeah, it's like there's so much. There's so much that we could read or watch or play or whatever these days. It's just finding the good ones. That really is the problem.
I think part of the problem with that as well is that so many of them are trying so hard to get not only get your attention but then keep that attention. But
Yeah.
with games, it feels like I feel like this isn't really a thing with like movies, TV shows, or anything like that. But I feel like with a lot of games, they want your attention. They want to keep your attention, but then they want to be the sole thing that holds your attention because of
Yeah,
how
and
much
I think
grindy bullshit you have to do, especially with a lot of these games as battle passes.
yeah, like if they convince you to play every day so that you're not spending your free time on other games and you're more invested and you're more likely to give them money and blah blah blah. Yeah, it's exactly it. It's interesting with the free games I play, like the little idle games and stuff, because a lot of them actually designed so that you can only do so much at a time. Like sometimes I'll play for 20 minutes and that's it. Like I've done everything I can possibly do until I leave the game for a few hours and let things tick away and then I come back.
See, on a
But it's still
similar
obviously.
vein, that's actually one thing I actually kind of like about Genshin, though, is that it only takes me like at most like 30 minutes to clear my dailies, and then
Mm,
at that point for me, it's just kind of like, okay, now I can go about the rest of my day. I'm just I'm done with this. I can come back to it tomorrow.
yeah, I do think I like that as well with my mobile games. Just sort of having that thing that you can do for a bit, just sort of. I use it to clear my head a lot of the time, like with work or whatever else. Just sort of, I need
I
a
use
break.
it to essentially switch my brain out of work mode and into chill mode,
Yeah, that makes sense. Um,
and then from there, I'm able to go do whatever it is I need to do for the day.
yeah, but there's so many other games that want you to spend hours
All of your
each day.
time.
Yeah, and
I
I'm
feel like
like,
it's like pretty much
I'm not
all the
gonna.
big games out right now. Like Overwatch wants that level of commitment.
Yeah,
Something a lot of the pretty much every battle royale wants that level of commitment.
See, that's something I always liked about Splatoon, is because the games are a couple of minutes, maximum 5 minutes. I
Yeah.
could actually sit down and play like 4 or 5 games in half an hour, and then yeah, go about my day.
Although
Um,
Splatoon's got a fucking battle pass now,
yes,
which makes
yeah.
no sense to me. I mean, at least you don't have to pay for it, but still.
No.
I saw
I
that and
guess
it was just like, why does this game need a battle pass too? Like, I mean, at
I think
least
they're
like
just doing it
I
so
think at
everyone
least with
expects
something
it.
like Splatoon or even Genshin, like because like Splatoon, it's like basically all cosmetic shit that you like. If you give a shit about it,
Mm,
cool. If not, you're not losing out on anything. And then
yeah, which I
like
think is the best
with
kind.
Genshin's battle pass, with the exception of the battle pass weapons you get when you hit level 30 on that, it's literally
Hmm.
just shit you're already grinding for anyway. So it just makes the grind a little less taxing.
Yeah.
And
Actually,
even
yeah, I hadn't thought
but
about
even then with the level 30 with the once you hit level 30 that the weapons you get, they are by no means best in slot for any character. Like they'll work, they're good, but there's always a better option.
yeah.
Which I kind of like about that because it's like you can use it on whoever, but then if you get something better, it's not that big a deal. Like
Mm,
you're not seemingly out that money. Like at least to me, I don't feel like I'm out any money for getting that because then it's just I have basically I had like I got a new character but I don't have a good weapon for him. Well, here's a placeholder.
right. Yeah, no, that's fair actually. Um,
Then you have other ones like Overwatch's Battle Pass where sure it's all cosmetics, but most of them are just like player icons and bullshit nobody's gonna notice anyway.
yeah, there's way too many like that.
And then the other one that bothers me is a lot of the battle royale ones because literally anything other than the skins, nobody's gonna fucking notice. And even then, I'm the type of person where I tunnel vision so hard I don't even notice the damn skin. I just see the outline.
That I never got into that.
I
Like,
tried it for a while, but I got so sick of it so quick because it was just too much RNG for my taste.
yeah, my problem with the battle royale games in particular is I'm way too cautious. I
Yeah,
won't run around
I'm
shooting
pretty
people.
slow with those as well.
I just find a hiding spot. Like I have I just blanked on the name. Um um
Fortnite, Apex.
Fortnite. Thank you. Actually, I have Apex as well, but I have Fortnite and I have played all of 3 games because first game I got top 10, second game I got top 5, third game I got second. Purely because I was being a sneaky bastard the entire time
See,
and like did not care.
for me, the thing that I hate about it is just I don't like the fact that like I could land and find literally nothing but a pistol, but then the kid next to me finds the basically the instant win button where all he has to do is aim in your general direction. You're just dead. I hate that so much. But I
Yeah,
think
that
that's more personal preference because I know a lot of people actually like that kind of thing. I
I
still say
think
it would be more fair if it was just here's the loadout that the entire lobby has. Good luck.
see that's why I preferred CS:GO because I did play CS:GO for a few years and I did also play the like sort of battle royale mode that it
I
had.
do a bit of Valorant, so I understand.
Yeah, and then at least you start with whether it's all the same weapons or
Or
you have the
very
same amount of
similar.
money. Yeah, like there's some kind of restrictions to what you can start with, and that levels the playing field quite a bit. But I think because of Fortnite, because I knew there was so much RNG, I decided not to care, and therefore I ended up just hiding and being an idiot and not actually. I'm not sure I even shot at anyone once in those 3 games. And yet I still did so well because I just found stupid places to hide and lucked out with the like cloud closing and thing. So I played 3 games and was like, well, that's boring. I'm done with that. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, anyway, I just now looked at the thing. We've been going for about an hour and 10 minutes,
Yes, yes, we have.
which is we were shooting for like 15, 20. So, but at the same time, I might as well just upload the whole thing, call it a podcast, because why not?
Yeah. Or you could possibly split it into a couple of episodes. I was thinking that we have jumped around topics quite a bit.
I
We
might
might be
do
able to
that.
find-
I'll have to play around with it in editing because if it's like
Yeah.
fairly even size chunks, that might be the way to go. But anyway,
Yeah.
any final words before we head off? Because you're probably gonna want to go to bed soon, and I'm only probably gonna be up for another 45 minutes myself. So
Yeah.
any closing thoughts, and feel free to plug your shit.
Um, Go look at Fishbowl. It's great.
Yes,
It's not mine, but I love it. And I think just
we simp our
in
friends
general,
here.
yes, I think in general, like we've said it a couple of times, but sometimes you really just got to dig down into the indie shit, like the stuff that doesn't have the money for the advertising, that doesn't isn't like they don't know how to advertise even. Sometimes you really just got to like keep clicking through the Steam, that queue of recommendations, or go looking at some stuff on the internet. Um, because there's some real gems hidden down in the indies and the small teams and all
A
that
hundred
stuff.
percent. I
It's
think the
just
other
you can
thing on a similar vein as well, if you're playing a lot of multiplayer shit and you're like getting kind of bored of it, like especially like me, like I am,
Mm.
don't be afraid to take a break and try to actually like find
Oh, for
something
sure.
that should be actually more fun.
Yeah. 'Cause I think, especially with multiplayer, it's so easy to just start spiraling if you're not
I think
enjoying it.
multiplayer is definitely a lot easier to have it be either it's really really fun or you fucking hate your life.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to take a break from whatever game it is. Even if it's a game a lot of your friends are playing, if you're not having fun, well, find something that is. Whatever that might
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. And give your hands a rest. It might help you not get carpal tunnel as well.
Yeah,
Because that is a legitimate problem, but that's a whole nother topic.
and maybe a bit of exercise while you're at it, because sitting down all
Yeah.
day is definitely not good for us.
Go take a walk, look at the sky.
I try to go for a
Yeah.
run every night, actually.
Yeah, I go for a walk every night. That's
Admittedly,
where
for
half
me,
my gaming
that's
time's
more
from.
for selfish weight loss reasons. But it does get
Mine
me
says
out.
I have
It
a
is nice to
selfish
get out of
goal.
the house, though. I can't go on my run tonight though because it is currently raining like a fucking apocalypse outside. So hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully you can't hear it in the background.
No, I'm good. You're good,
Right.
brother.
So I guess with that we're done with this
Yeah.
and. Go find Fishbowl. Go look at Fishbowl on Steam. I'll link it in the description. Right, and